And we are back today talking about Oklahoma and Tulsa. OU is rolling into this game 2-0. And although this is another game where you probably shouldn't find out a lot about the Oklahoma Sooners, we're all excited because, hey, it's practically a glorified home game for OU. But guys, before we dive into it, we have some housekeeping to take care of. We have Jay over at Unfair Sports joining us today. How are you doing?
What's going on? Thanks for having me, PG. Coming back to talk ball. It's been a bit.
It has been a bit. Hey, you've been a little busy. You got some updates. Tell everybody what's going on in the J world with Bleacher Report and what you guys are doing over at Unfair Sports.
Man, all over the place, man. So every Friday we're doing a college football roundtable prediction show for Bleacher Report on the app. You just download the Bleacher Report app. This Friday, so tomorrow it'll be, or today, whenever you're watching this, we'll be on Friday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. This week and then the week after we'll be on, I think it's at 1 p.m. Central, 2 o'clock Eastern. And so just on Fridays, myself, Ty from Around the Table, as well as Nino from Nino's Corner and Steven from Fanatic Perspective, the Texas guys, they pull up and we, do predictions. So there's been fun there. And then, of course, on my channel, we've been trying to turn out more content to keep everything busy because, baby, we're in college football season. So let's go.
Yes, let's go. Well, that's exciting news for you guys. But, let's do a little bit of predictions ourselves. Let's break down some game. And the first game I want to break down today is Oklahoma versus Tulsa. So Oklahoma's going to this game, and let's be honest, it feels like this is going to be a home game for Oklahoma. I think Tulsa's stadium holds 30,000 people, and you've seen nothing but OU fans buying season tickets for I think less than $150, $200 to get just this game, and they have ticket packages fans are buying. So it's crazy what OU fans are doing to get there. But I believe that this game not only is just good for Oklahoma to get it on the record, they're getting away from Norman, but it's also good because there's a lot of kids coming out of Tulsa. Yeah. So you get an opportunity to showcase for them because those Tulsa kids will be watching on some level. So go ahead and just kind of talk a little bit about this Tulsa game and give us your prediction. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, so I'd had a couple of guys on my channel from the Golden Hurricanes, Matt and Ryan. They're fantastic. Go check it out on my channel if you want to see that video. And so we talked a little bit of ball. They kind of gave everybody, let you know what you're, who you're facing, tell you a little bit about the Hurricanes. And the biggest thing really is that Kevin Wilson makes his return to the state of Oklahoma. He was the former offensive coordinator here at OU. He spent 9 seasons here. Him and Brent Venables were coaches together here. So it's always fun to have that conversation and talk about what it was like battling each other. And so, Kevin's coming in, spent time in Indiana, didn't, that didn't end very well, ended up resigning due to quote unquote mistreating players. But he's known for being a super intense guy. Even some of the former staff members were talking about him for OU, how intense that dude is. I think it was actually Teddy and Gabe were talking about that on their show earlier this week. And so the expectation with Tulsa is, unfortunately, they're down to their third string quarterback. Now, we don't know if Braxton or Cardell Williams will be back yet, but as of right now, it looks like Tulsa's dealing with, standard, beat up, bodies hurting, not being able to play. And so since that's the case, I guess the biggest thing we're going to see in this game is Oklahoma has an opportunity to really fine tune things. The spread's climbed to 28. When I first saw it, it was 24.5. It's at 28, and it's probably higher than that. It's probably 28.5 by now.
28.5.
So yeah, it's climbing. So by the time kickoff is, I can see this spread being almost 30 because everybody's taking Oklahoma in the spread, mainly because the Sooners have covered the spread 2 games in a row. And this is not something that we have done back in the Riley regime era. Now, granted, OU won a lot of games in that, but they were about 500 against the spread with him as a coach, and that includes good and bad teams. So kind of throws things off, right? If you really think about it, you're like, yeah, Oklahoma was known for beating up on teams. They win 11, 12 games a season. They weren't covering spreads. All those games were a lot closer than they were supposed to be. And so this one, I anticipate another spread being covered. I predict another blowout victory. Not 73-0, but honestly, I will be shocked if it's not close to that.
So you're thinking maybe another shutout?
That is what my expectations for them are. I don't predict them to get a shutout. I do think that Tulsa will probably, kind of like they did against Washington, get like a garbage time touchdown. But the beauty of it is that we know that the first stringers for OU, if they're on the sidelines rooting on the second and thirds, they're going to be in their butts about not giving up the shutout. Because that was the huge deal against Arkansas State. They were riding each. I mean, that's the culture change. They were pumping each other up, saying, "Don't give up, Rook. Don't freshman. Don't give up that. Don't give up that shutout. Don't give up that shutout." So they were calling on each other and pushing each other to make sure they're in the right positions to go out there and keep that shutout alive. And so, if Oklahoma can make that happen again, I would love to see 2 shutouts in the first 3 games of the season.
Yes, and it's possible, like you said, with the injuries. And I think it's important to note, guys, Tulsa's offense actually is not a bad offense. I think they put up 517 yards against Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then they, kind of took a step back, but still got 318 total yards against Washington. So, and that was with a backup quarterback. So we know Tulsa
third string quarterback.
We know Tulsa can move the ball. Now, should they be able to move the ball against Oklahoma effectively? No. Like, this defense should come out. They should be stout, and they should be able to hold their own. But just kind of looking at some of the team stats here and kind of just looking at, what's going on with this Tulsa team, you're not really going to have to worry about the run game, even though their leading rusher has more rush yards than Oklahoma. That's actually kind of funny to kind of look at, but in reality, that's not going to stand for long. Oklahoma has been trying to get a rhythm with Tawi Walker and Marcus Major, and I expect we'll probably see that again this week. You'll probably see those two take a good handful of snaps. They're going to try to get those guys in as much rotation as possible. You might see Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk in there, depending on how healthy they are. I think that's kind of the problem, right? Is, these guys maybe aren't as healthy as we thought they would be. And so you're seeing a lot of those snaps go to 2 other guys that they really want to see what they're made of and what they can bring to this team. And then I would expect Dylan Gabriel probably to have another 350 yard pass game.
That's probably the thing I'm wondering is if Gabriel's going to go out there and sling it. Is Levy going to let him?
Yeah, that's the big question. But I mean, the question that I've kind of had on my mind is, does Levy kind of have a revenge game in his head for these fans? Because I know these fans were not happy with him last week. Does he kind of go in there with the mindset of, I want to show these fans that this offense is okay? Or does he go out there, try to be conservative again, and really try to establish this running game and try to see if Tawi Walker and Marcus Major can start breaking some big runs?
I mean, I anticipate that he's probably going to try to get some run out of Barnes and Sawchuk just to warm them up. Biggest thing is when you have these games and you have guys that are kind of nicked up, I wouldn't say banged up, but nicked up a little bit, little smaller injuries or recovering, you really don't want to waste them in a game that you can bypass and let them get healthy for the games. That's the most important. We were initially looking past Cincinnati. Cincinnati's going to be a problem. They are going to be a tough team to play against. They have, Dante Corleone, the defensive tackle, who was a preseason All-American. And that defensive line is probably the second best, if not the best defensive line in the Big 12. So for this game, it makes the most sense for Oklahoma to play the players that need to get reps in preparation for Big 12 play. You don't want to walk into Big 12 play with guys banged up. Like, Harrington, BV stated that he was a little banged up, so the anticipation he's probably not going to play just to make sure he's healthy. And then Deshaun McCullough didn't play last game, and most likely they're probably not going to play him there either, just so they can make sure that he's 100%, because he's going to be most effective against a team like Cincinnati. So you'll probably see a lot more of the younger guys really run and play. I'm totally in for Peyton Bowen running the cheetah, or Samuel Masigo, who we saw on the depth chart for the week 1. He was on the depth chart for that game as, one of the cheetahs, rotating cheetahs. And so if that's the case, I anticipate us seeing those 2 in to go and, taking time and letting some of those other players that need to get healthy, let them get healthy. So offensively, to answer your question, as I, gave a tangent here, I do not believe that Levy really pays attention to the noise of wanting to get quote unquote revenge. I think he's really going to go out there and make sure that everybody's executing at a high clip. That doesn't mean that we're not going to put up a lot of points, and it also doesn't mean we will put up a lot of points. The biggest thing is executing and not screwing up. And so that offensive line was struggling. We need them to get gelled up in preparation for Cincinnati.
Now, I also think a lot of last game was really trying to establish that running game to kind of slow the offense down a little bit, keep the defense on the sidelines, make sure this defense stays rested. And I think this game you might see kind of what they did in the first game, where maybe you try to see what you have in a backup quarterback outside of Jackson Arnold. Because remember, they took Arnold out in the fourth quarter and they brought in Bevel and then they brought in Booty because Bevel got hurt. I would be interested to see, hey, do you get Dylan Gabriel warmed up, take him out after the first half, again, put Arnold in there for another quarter, and then really try to see what you have in Bevel or Booty to kind of see, well, what's going to happen if we lose Dylan Gabriel throughout the season? Because we're letting him be more aggressive with the football in his feet. You know, if he happens to go out, which is always a possibility, even though we never hope an injury happens to anybody, it's possible. We saw it last season. So,
Right.
I mean, what do you think about that? Like, do you think they could try to position another quarterback to try to play that secondary role, kind of like what they did in the first game?
I don't see it unless we're up 42-0 at half. We're not going to see anybody out there besides Dylan Gabriel or Jackson Arnold. Now, granted, if we do jump out to a lead, if we jump out 21-0 in the first quarter and we continue to keep jumping out and go into halftime at 42-0, similar to what we did at Arkansas State, yes, you need to go put General Booty out there and let's see what he can do in this offense the entire second half. There's no reason to even play Jackson Arnold because there's no reason to even take that chance of him getting hurt. I want him to come in second quarter while the score is big, and then I want us to move into the third stringers or whatnot and let the players get reps that need reps so that we, again, have the bodies prepared, the reps, the repetition, and understanding where you need to be as we move into Big 12 play. Cincinnati is going to be the game to really give us the test. I don't want to look past Tulsa, while at the same time, we all know that this game is going to, we're a 28.5 point favorite and the line's going up.
Yeah, no, and that's actually an interesting take. I don't think a lot of people and a lot of fans watching this would have that take of, hey, let's play Booty over Arnold. But I agree with that because, well, Bevel's probably still going to be recovering from the concussion, but Booty was a guy that a lot of teams wanted. I think, didn't even Georgia want him out of the transfer portal? I believe he was getting looks. Yeah, I believe he was getting looks like that.
I think he was getting some looks, but I don't believe that Georgia was one of them.
Either way, you get Booty out there, and let's say he performs really well. Maybe that gives you some confidence that, hey, you don't have to jump to Arnold right away, and you can continue to protect him as much as possible so that he is ready to go for you either really late in the season or in years 2 and 3. It doesn't sound like they're going to redshirt Jackson Arnold. Doesn't sound like that's an option with this stuff.
Oh, yeah. BV already said that we don't have the depth, so that should tell you enough right there. He's going to be out there. He's the number 2 quarterback, and they're going to play him as the number 2. And he's going to get a lot. We saw the quote-unquote jackhammer or whatever they call it, like the belldozer type plays where he was running them. And because Jackson Arnold is a scrambling threat, the biggest thing, though, is that once you get Jackson Arnold out there, you need to make teams not confuse teams on what he's going to actually do, in which that's the reason why I think he did the jackhammer type deal initially, to have him just run short yardage and just run past people because he's good at that. And then this game, you may see him throw more passes. We actually may see him throw passes in this game or in Cincinnati. I expect them to really get him warmed up because they're gonna want to use him. But right now, even he said it. He's still learning the playbook. He's still trying to make sure he's really in depth on that. He doesn't want to be just be a gamer and just go out there and just backyard ball it, because at a certain point when you play a really good team, that doesn't work.
Well, I'll just say this. If the staff has learned anything from Oklahoma during the Lincoln Riley years that is effective, it is when you get to that Texas game, pull your quarterback out halftime or around midway through the game, halftime, and you put in that freshman that nobody knows about, and he'll go out there and he'll light Texas up and win you the game. And then from there, you can figure out what you're going to do next.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to try to replicate Caleb Williams. The good thing is, I hope we don't walk into that game and be down 28-7.
Hey, you know what? We don't have to be down 28-7. I would just like to see him give Texas a curveball and say, "Hey, you're going to see Jackson Arnold for a couple of series."
Yeah, you're going to break some hearts.
Oh, it would definitely break some hearts. But before we shift to the defense, I really want to talk about this wide receiver core because this is starting to really intrigue me. So Andrell Anthony's got 10 receptions and 142 yards and a touchdown. Drake Stoops and Nick Anderson are your second and third leading wide receivers. You have to go pretty far down the chart to find Jalil Farouk, who I believe is number 6 or 7 on the stat sheet. So it looks like wide receiver 1 for Dylan Gabriel this year is going to be Andrell Anthony, and rightfully so. The dude has a lot of speed. Like we talked about, he was going to be a huge impact coming out of Michigan. So I'd expect Andrell Anthony's going to be target number 1 for Dylan Gabriel again this week outside of Drake Stoops. So what is your expectations, not only for the wide receivers, but for the tight ends in this game? Because for me, I want to see Dylan Gabriel throw it to these wide receivers in the middle of the field. And for the tight ends, I want to see Austin Stogner catch some more balls. I think he's only caught 1 pass this whole season.
Yeah. It depends on if Levy wants to actually throw the ball. Like, the biggest thing, as mentioned before, is that establishing the run was the key thing, and you said it earlier, which is probably what he's doing, is trying to slow things down, make it to where it's less. It's getting the defense off the field and stop having those 1 minute possessions. That's the biggest thing, is letting that clock run. Get 2 minutes, get 2.5 minutes on a regular basis, and try to, if you don't make a long drive, at least make the drive at least 2.5, 3 minutes, which is probably 10 minutes real time. So that gives a good time for the defense to actually get a break. And so that's what it felt like he's doing, especially on top of that, the physicality of the game. They're trying to be more physical. They're trying to push people around, and our offensive line has the capabilities of it. And so if we're doing that really good, we could probably have ourselves a great year. And then once you bring in Barnes and Sawchuk and they're hitting those holes properly and using that good vision, the season's going to be great. So I think that that's actually what they're trying to go after, is more so than that. And that's probably why you're not seeing a lot of Jalil Farouks. But I anticipate them trying to find a way to get him the ball in open space and making it happen.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's trying to go as vanilla as possible. And it's like, hey, running the ball, you can be as vanilla as you can go that way because you don't have to really show what you have weapon-wise. But, man, Andrell Anthony, he is hard to hide. He is hard to hide. He's going to really help keep this offense going. But shifting gears and looking at the defense, this is another area where I think Oklahoma could potentially try to, again, reassure faith to the fan base that they can apply pressure to the quarterback. I know a lot of people are so focused on Oklahoma just getting sacks. And I know sacks are great. They look sexy on the stat sheet, but in reality, this defensive line has done really well this season, pressuring the quarterback and then containing the quarterback. That's not something they've done well in previous seasons. The quarterback flushes out of the pockets, gets 10 yards on you on a 3rd and 10, and now they got the first down again. Now, obviously, the secondary might have a little bit of work because it seems like, especially in that last game, maybe they gave up some plays that they maybe could have stopped. But, this secondary will continue to improve. And I'm sure as guys get healthier in that room and that competitive depth comes back, you'll start to see guys play with the fire under their butt. So what are you looking for to see from this defense against Tulsa?
Yeah, the defense needs to go out there and put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, especially since they're not going to have their traditional starting quarterback or their mobile guys. By having, I think Roman Fuller is the one that's most likely going to be the one to play unless Cardell Williams' hand works, because there's this throwing hand he injured against Washington that made him come out the game. If he's playing at that point, then you got to start preparing yourself for somebody that's mobile. But at the speed that we're playing, I want us to keep that speed going. SMU and Arkansas State stated that this team is a lot faster than what it looked like on the tape last year. And it's the one thing that I did in my most recent video, and my excitement about this is that they're swarming to the ball. Like, if you pay attention to how the defense, whenever there's a tackle, there's like 5 or 6 dudes, especially out just in open space. There's like 5 or 6 dudes that just randomly show up, and you're like, where'd y'all come from? Y'all weren't here a second ago. And then a second later, you see 4 or 5 dudes converging on a guy, and they're actually tackling. Something we have not done since before BV. if you really think about it defensively, that was kind of one of the big things with him is that you always saw the guys go out there and gang tackle. And as BV was evolving his defense and trying to make it better, of course, he wasn't perfect. There was games where, we weren't that good, back in his first stint with us, but you notice as he evolved that defense and he changed things and he studied things, you recognize that, oh, okay, yeah, his defense is built to get everybody moving, going in shape and moving fast. And they look so much faster than normal. They look light years ahead. And that's my anticipation in this game is they're going to do the exact same thing.
Yes, and I'm really curious to look at the linebacker group. So we've talked about the Cheetah and Justin Harrington and Desan McCullough. They're really just not going to play. I don't expect them to play. I'm excited to see Reggie Pearson, Peyton Bowen, and Sammy Omosigo potentially try to take a look at this Cheetah role. But there's kind of been a surprise player for me this season at the defense and at the linebacker position, and that's Kip Lewis. Kip Lewis has 12 total tackles this season. And I believe with Justin Harrington being out, you're going to probably see a lot of these linebackers coming in and out, and you've got a guy like Owen Heineke. Does anybody know who this kid is? Because I didn't know who he was until I saw him on the stat sheet. But he's appeared in both games, and he's got 3 total tackles. So there's obviously some serious depth there. You've got Stutzman, you've got Kanak, but we know that the true freshmen's coming in, and Phil Picchiotti and Lewis Carter. Those are going to be some dudes alongside Sammy Obasigo. And then you got guys like Kobe McKenzie, Kip Lewis, Shane Witter, and Owen Heineke. So I think this is an opportunity where there's an open Cheetah spot for maybe them to try something a little different and for somebody to make a name for themselves at that linebacker spot. I don't know what your thoughts are there, but I really am excited to see what's going to happen there.
Yeah, I'm sensing that, like with Owen Heineke, he's probably played a lot of special teams, but at the same time, he's getting game and he's making the magic happen. I do anticipate with that linebacker group, especially Kip Lewis. I think he's going to be the one to really shine. I think that he'll get a lot more run than anticipated, and just keep an eye out. He's one of those players. When every opportunity he's gotten out there, he's taken advantage of it, and he's been a bright light, a shining light for this team. And so since that's the case, like you said, he's up there in tackles. He's second right behind Stutzman in total tackles. He's second in even in assists. He's everywhere. And because he's flying around like that, you kind of got to give that man the opportunity. You kind of got to play him. Like it's like one of those situations where they're trying their best to play the best players as much as possible. And that's why you're seeing a lot of Bowen. That's why you're seeing Kip Lewis show up randomly and stuff. That's why you're starting to see Kenai Walker, who's also having a very solid start to the season. And so my anticipation is that linebacker-wise, you're going to see some Kip rotating in there with Kanak as well as Stutzman to make sure that, we're not only fresh, but we're always playing the best player for whatever the offense is putting at us.
No, love it. And outside of the linebacker position, I really want to see some more PJ Adebayor. I think we saw him in action last game, but he didn't put anything up in terms of the stat sheet. So, and I think he had 1 tackle there for the Arkansas State game. So him, Marcus Strong, those are 2 guys I want to see on the defensive line. Marcus Strong actually played in the Arkansas State game, actually. And the other thing I'm curious to see is how many players on the defensive side of the ball play. Because they had 29 in game 1, 26 in game 2. So do they kind of hit that 26 number again? Or are they going to be a little bit less than that with guys injured? I'm not sure. But I know with guys injured, there's opportunity for other guys to step up. And that's going to be an area where I think a lot of us are going to be watching that competitive depth. You're playing Tulsa. This competitive depth should really show. And who knows? Oklahoma might go out there and get a shutout. But for me, I actually changed my prediction a little bit. I think I'm going to have Oklahoma winning this game 55-3. I'm going to give Tulsa at least the benefit of the doubt in a Kevin Wilson offense that they can go out and score. But I believe you're going to have a lot of Oklahoma kids that are from the Tulsa area that are going to get time during this game, and they're going to want to go out there and show out in front of their families. And I think it's only going to be in Tulsa's disfavor.
No, I get you. And even with PJ, if you're mentioning him, he I think he leads the team in pressures on QB pressures at percentage. So yeah, he's doing his job. It's just the ball's gone by the time he gets there because he's getting there fast, but they're throwing the ball fast. I mean, the teams we've played, these last two teams have been throwing the ball at NFL QB speeds. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger used to throw the ball at like 2.8 seconds or something of that nature. Something absurd. That's how fast he got rid of the ball. Tom Brady was early 3 seconds. So that means that you hike it 3 seconds later, that ball's gone. So it's hard to get to those quarterbacks because they're getting rid of it. And that's what they're doing those last two games. They recognize that there's potential chances that their offensive line's not going to be able to handle our defensive line. And so they're getting rid of that ball. And so, yeah, I mean, we're getting pressure. Let's put it like that.
All right. And what do you got for the game? What's your score prediction? You ready to drop that yet?
Let me see. The spread on this one is what, 28.5. We're looking at an over-under sitting at 59.5. I tell everybody always bet the under in college football because that new clock Vegas ain't figured it out yet. It's going to take them another week for them to really calculate everything. I say usually about the first quarter through the season they figure it out. So if I'm going to go ahead and be a betting man on this, I think Oklahoma's going to cover the spread. I'm going to say 48-3.
48-3. All right. You're a little optimistic here.
Yeah, I think we're going to blow them out. I don't think it's going to be a close game either. Actually, it may be closer to 50, but we'll go with 48-3 just to play with the numbers, and it's more so because we get 2 field goals late in the game.
All right. And if Oklahoma goes out there and shuts out Tulsa again and scores over 50 points, I mean, what is going to be your reaction? What is going to be your initial reaction in a team that goes out here and makes another shutout?
If they get another shutout, they meet my expectations. That was my expectation coming into this one, is that when I looked at the analytics and looked at the advanced metrics on BV's defenses, his first year at Clemson and his first year here were similar, about rated in the 50s as far as like advanced numbers went. And the next year at Clemson, he jumped up to like top 10 status. And I'm going to actually pull up the exact number because I have it. My guy from the Evil Empire, Darth, over there in the Discord, he had the stats numbers up, and I had made a video, really dove deep into it. But the big thing is that BV's defenses, let me pull that bad boy up. I am right here. So when BV was at Clemson, his first year was 2012. They were 54th in defensive efficiency, 54 in the DSR. SP plus ESPN's was 47, and the D score from Sharp Analytics was 40. And the numbers here at Oklahoma, he was 55 defensive efficiency last year, 52 in DSR2, SP plus was 70, and the D score was 44. So very close to the numbers he was his first year at Clemson. His second year at Clemson, defensive efficiency was number 9 in the country. So if this team is as fast and as it's being advertised so far, and they're playing as good as we think, and based upon the schedule, if they do things right, they can end up doing that again. Top 10 defense second year in. And then there afterwards, the third year, number 1 defense in the country.
Woo-hoo! Don't give Oklahoma fans too much hope.
I'm just saying. That's what BV did in 14. 15, he was second. 16, he was 8th. 17, 18, and 19th, number 1 in the country. 2022, 2021 was 4th. So once you start getting your bodies in there, things change.
Okay. I'd love to hear. It's year 2 in Schmitty's system. And didn't we try to tell everybody in year 2 of Schmitty's system, it's just going to be different?
I told everybody that was the thing I said, man. If you exercise, if you are into fitness or anything, it takes about a year for your body to really adjust, with especially the intensity that they were exercising in. It takes your body, the human body has limits. But the human body is very adaptable. It's the most sophisticated machine in the world. I mean, the way that we adapt to stuff. And So yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but once your body gets going and it becomes normal, you could the dude they didn't look tired in any of the games, even though they really weren't working it hard, but they didn't look tired. My question is going to be is what do they look like after the Cincinnati game? Because that's when we started to show signs of fatigue last year. But that was also because bringing Schmitty in January, we weren't in the best. We weren't in the full shape because we weren't in the system for a full year. Now they've got over a full year in. You can tell a difference with the players in size and the way they move. Team can look special, man. They can. There's a chance.
Hey, love to hear it. And you know what? If Oklahoma goes out there, I don't want to call my shot. If they got a top 10 defense this year, there's a good chance Oklahoma's in the college football playoffs.
Texas game is going to be one of the litmus tests for all of us. That'll let us know where we're at. If that game is close, even in a loss, you can expect them to go far.
That's really what I'm looking for. Not looking for Oklahoma to go out there and win that game because I know Texas is a really good team this year. I'm just going out there and hoping, yes, I mean, I want Oklahoma to win. I'm just going out there and hoping Oklahoma takes care of business on the defensive side of the ball and is as improved as we think we are. Because if they go out there and they can control the trenches like they have so far, guys, this team has 82.5 rush yards through 2 games, which one of those teams has been one of the top 15 offenses in college football for the past 4 years. And they have 82.5 rushing yards through 2 games. So if they can go out there, they can control the trenches against Texas. It's going to put them in that game to win it. But that's going to give you a lot of confidence going into the rest of the season and going into the Big 12 championship game at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, all right. Well, Jay, appreciate you coming on and breaking down some of this OU Tulsa game and giving us your prediction because I think it's going to be kind of a massacre on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this game. It's going to be a good one. We're going to have a blast, of course. So, good stuff, PG. Thank you for having me on again.
No, yeah. And where can the people find you one more time?
You know where to find your boy, Unfair Sports. Search for me on YouTube as well as wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. If you're bored and you want to come talk ball with us, jump in the Discord. There's a link in the description on any of the videos in my channel. We just be in there hanging out talking ball all day, man. We actually got a thread right now talking about Jackson Arnold not redshirting, so it's been a good time. So feel free to come join us.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms and you've listened this far, then you just need to go ahead, rate the video or rate the audio, give us 5 stars, give me a follow, be a part of what I am trying to build here at the PG Show, talking about college football as a whole. So we'd love to have you be a part of it.